LegacyMaker, the all sports network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
Hello everyone, we are syndicated with another special edition of the In or Out Sports Debate, Volume 6, best of episodes 26 through 30, with your host, Drew Willingham, joined by special guests, Becca Cottingham-Quimby, Lamonte Thomas, James Brown, Darrell Owens, Jeremiah Quimby, and Ellis Pollard. Enjoy.
Round 3.
With round 3, Brandon Brown was in the wrong for calling out JR Motorsports after wreck at Road America. And before we give our take on that, let's take a look at this clip from that accident.
No. Slammed into the side of him, and he spins. Sage Karam into the wall.
What a move by that yellow car of Jones to miss the wreck, and here comes the rest of the field.
They can't see. It's smoke and dust all the way across. More coming in too fast, and more contact.
A huge impact to Tyler Reddick in that 48.
Drivers going through, trying to get through, but couldn't see, and a lot of contact. And we see Josh Bilicki taking the Sargento billboard with him.
I don't know if that's what Sargento had in mind, but good coverage. Good
so
coverage.
Much damage. Look at all these cars. And some cars rolled away with significant damage as well. Remember, this track is only 30 feet long, 30 feet wide.
See Bilicki making his move. We saw Moffitt and the smoke coming up from that. Daniel Hemrick, a lot of damage there.
This might be one of the biggest road course wrecks we have seen in some time. We talked a lot about spotters and blind areas of the racetrack, and I think that's what you saw, Rick, is you just, you continue to see smoke and dirt all day long, and now this time there are cars on the other side of it as we see. I think that's Brandon Brown.
Yeah, Brandon Brown climbing out.
Gingerly climbing out. Great to see him. Yeah.
Big hits.
Yes.
Big hits. Tyler Reddick with big damage. It all started with Sage Karam and Noah Gregson going at it.
Yeah.
And
John Hunter Nemechek, a lot of damage to the 26.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, long list.
Oh.
Yeah, Brandon Brown down. You see him up against the wall as the AMR safety crew getting to him quickly.
Myatt Snyder coming to check on him.
Yeah, Mike Snyder climbing out of his car to check on the driver of the 68, Brandon Brown.
Seeing that clip, Brandon Brown was in the wrong for calling out JR Motorsports after wreck at Road America. How do you feel about this, Becca? Are you in or are you out on this?
I'm out.
Becca says she is.
I'm out because he's not the only one that called him out. Number one. Number two, Noah Gregson was in the wrong. And number three, even Junior himself said Noah was in the wrong. And he needs to take it out of his bag of tricks. Boom! That's really all there is to the matter. Noah was wrong. He shouldn't have done it. He just wrecked a whole bunch of cars that didn't need to be wrecked. First of all, he got his panties in a wad. Yes, I called them panties, and yes, I realize most men don't wear panties. But seriously, his boxers, his briefs, his whatever, even
it got twisted.
Something got twisted. He was mad. He was being rubbed the wrong way. He got angry, and so he got that anger pants going on. Yeah, we'll call him anger fire suit, maybe. We'll go with anger fire suit. I like that one better. Anger fire suit. The anger fire suit going on. And because he was rubbing against this other race car driver, or he was going against this one. Literally, that's what was happening. And he didn't like how he was being raced. The dude should have just kept going and stopped being the way he was. It was just a matter of keep driving and get away from him. Sometimes you just got to do that. You got to get away from the negativity or the driver that's just not doing what you want them to do. It's just like on the highway.
I concur. I concur with your thoughts, and that's why I got to go out on this as well. And with that, opens up our first installment of this.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
Since we both disagree on this topic, we both get to see the Bishop Bullwinkle 7 seconds of awesomeness. No, but for real, right here, I mean, how can you agree with this? I mean, he definitely wasn't in the wrong. Noah Gragson was, basically hitting someone else and caused a 12-car pileup in front of, for no reason, just to make a move a little bit forward when he could have just waited just a couple seconds later and made the move, got around without having to cause such a big pileup in an accident. So selfish racing, selfish driving without thinking about.
Round 4.
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all, but we are here in round 4, and this is what I like to call the by the number segment, which Eddie George is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 27 in all of sports. This is a pretty big one, LT. How do you feel about this when it comes to the number 27 of all time of all sports athletes? Are you in or out?
I'm in, bro. It's a tough one, but I'm in. Listen, got to give credit where credit is due, man. Eddie George, what a career, man. I mean, talking Heisman Trophy winner, Ohio State 95. He got 10,400 yards as a pro for the Tennessee Titans in that year. I think it was like the years of 96 to like 03, I think it was. 68 touchdowns. The man was absolutely crazy. Just a few seconds away from, being that Super Bowl champion, with the Rams. So got to give it to him, man. I do have some honorable mentions, though, just because by the numbers, right? Number 27, you got Scott Niedermeyer, right? New Jersey Devils, Hall of Fame, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, one of the best defensive scorers in the game. Got Steve Atwater, Denver Broncos, Hall of Fame, 8 Pro Bowls, 2-time Super Bowl champ. The safety, you got guys like Mike Trout, David Ortiz, 427. You got Scott Rowland, third base Cincinnati Reds, 8 Gold Gloves. You got some Jose Batista, Malcolm Jenkins, a lot of 27s out there, but I'm going to give it to Eddie George, man.
I've got to disagree. I'm out. LT, I cannot believe what I'm just hearing. Okay,
what did I leave out?
I love Eddie George. I love what he almost did with that Super Bowl. And if he would have got that Super Bowl with the Titans back in the day, I would probably be leaning more towards this because I love football over every sport, but I also love baseball. And I also love playing baseball. And you forgot one of the most important people to ever wore 27 in baseball. Catfish Hunter, who won 5 World Series.
Catfish Hunter. Yeah. Catfish Hunter. Nah, I did see that.
5 World Series. He won a World Series in 1972, 1973, and 1974, a three-peat with the A's, then one with the Yankees in 77 and 78, and had 8 All-Star appearances, won the Cy Young in 74. He was basically the king of the 70s.
I mean, the 70s is before my time, bro. I get it. And I should have mentioned it because actually I did pencil it in when I first was looking at stuff, but I was like, my list was so long, I was just like, I don't want to, but you're right. Catfish Hunter, man. I can't, you know what? Charge it to the game, man. Not my heart. Charge it to the game, not my heart, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Catfish.
Sorry. I had flashbacks to Paul Schofield's episode when he was trying to talk about what I thought was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I remember that.
NASCAR driver of all time. And he said Dale Sr., which I calmed down, but still, I immediately.
That was one of the best segments of all time. You got to bring that one back.
It was wild.
Round 3.
Here with this one, James. This one's a special one. Remember, the Titans should be considered as the greatest sports movie of all time. Fans, what do you think? We're almost at the midway point. The medial mayhem is going to be here after this round. What do you think? Do you guys think that the Remember the Titans should be considered as the greatest sports movie of all time? James, what do you feel about this? Are you in or are you out?
I'm in, man. I mean, definitely, man. I'm in. I mean, how could you not hold Remember the Titans up there as one of the greatest of all time? I mean, from the acting to the story itself. And, you know, a bit of a homer take, but you know, it took place here in Virginia, up at T.C. Williams, up in Northern Virginia, man. But, I mean, it's a great story, and it also happens to involve a game that we all love, football, and it involves sports. But just the story itself, bringing men together from different walks of life to come together to accomplish a common goal of being perfect out there on that field. I mean, that's a movie that you can take so much away from, not only from a sports perspective, but how we should go about living our lives as individuals as well, man. So great story, great acting. I mean, I hold it up there as one of the highest, man. So I'm in all the way.
I like your take and everything. I disagree, and you'll see why here in a second. With everything you said about it being in Virginia and the story and everything behind it, I love the movie. It's in my top 3 of all time. I really wanted to put this at 1. However, I have to disagree. I'm going out. I've got Remember the Titans at 3, and I remember back in 8th grade, because it was the year 2000. That's how old I am. I was in 8th grade back then, and we got to watch Remember the Titans in one of our classes, in our history class or civics class, something like that, for like 2 or 3 days. It was broken down to where we could watch 40 minutes. And I fell in love with it. I didn't get to go to the movie theater and see it, but I remember reading about the story and stuff, you know, growing up being a sports buff, even as a young kid. And it was one of my favorite movies of all time. But if I were to say the greatest sports movie of all time, I got to go with A League of Their Own, with the way they showed the women's sports filling in for a while. The men were at war back in World War II, and how that basically took place of the MLB and kept baseball alive for that short period of time. Tom Hanks and the other actors and actresses in that movie made that movie. Number 2, I'm sticking with baseball as well. Bull Durham. Bull Durham is my number 2. Just because you get to see the minor league system and just Kevin Costner and the other actors and stuff in there within that movie. I believe that's 2. I got Remember the Titans at 3. Field of Dreams at 4, even though it's not really like a sports team movie, but, you know, it's still the story behind that. And then I got to go Friday Night Lights at 5. So that's if I were to have a quick top 5 off the top of my head. I didn't even write this list beforehand. This is just like a quick from the heart top 5 if I were to rattle them off for this one. That's why I can't say Remember the Titans is number 1, because with the other ones that I mentioned before that and before and after, I got to put them right smack in the middle. Great story, not taking anything away from the movie itself. One of the best of all time, but in my opinion, I just can't put it at 1.
Okay.
So
we'll have to agree to disagree on that, but I got you. I feel you.
Yeah. It wasn't horrible.
Round 2.
And I say that wholeheartedly as a Braves fan, guys. Freddie Freeman's former agent should be barred from client representation going forward. Look at this graphic right here before you even get started. I mean, this says it all. This is I took this out of the picture moment when he was back in Atlanta for the first time, and for his agent to do what he did to him, it was pretty tough just to see that, whether you're a fan of his or not. How do you feel about this, Jay? Are you in or out on that, on his agent should be barred?
I'm kind of split, but I'm gonna say I'm in, because you got to tell your client you're representing that person, so you got to put it all on the table. And you know, after seeing that, like when I first heard that he was leaving, I couldn't believe it. That it just didn't make sense to me, because you knew where his passion and his love was, and his loyalty has always been there. And I will not bat an eye at the fact that next year he'll be back with the Braves.
So Jay's in and is strongly saying that he thinks that he's going back to the Braves next year. Before we get into my take, Darrell, how do you feel about this? Do you agree? Are you in or are you out?
I'm
I debated this all week, Drew. I really did. We got the topics last week. I was like,
That's why I try to pump them out as fast as I can. That way, in case you guys got any ideas and changes.
No, you good.
Time to think about it. Yeah,
you did the right thing. You did the right thing. I was debating it all week, and I'm in. The thing that bothered me the most about this, and we talked about it when you saw, that picture, that the graphic that you posted, like he was so hurt, and you can see it in his eyes that he wanted to. He wanted to still be in Atlanta, and for his agent to do him like that, look, man, it was dirty. I would love to see him go back to Atlanta because I love that loyalty factor. I mean, he was there when they were struggling, when the Braves had went from being that great team. He was there struggling. He got to this point, and now that they're world champs, and I just hate for the fact that he didn't even get the opportunity to say yes or no, or to say he was in or out. Going back to the Atlanta Braves. So I mean, I'm in. I mean, his agent ought to be ashamed of himself. Shame.
Way to use that pun, man. I like that. You did well. I love that. But and I was going back and forth with this. He should be barred, in my opinion. I mean, this is dirty dealings right there for you to put your trust in someone that's going to help you sign your deals, your livelihood for your family, for your friends, for yourself. It's no matter what I'm doing. Like, I spend my time to do stuff, and I just like my video productions. I do the damn best job I can because I want to provide entertainment for whoever's watching this, whether it's 1 or 100 people. Okay, all of you that spend time to watch this is all for entertainment. It's the same thing when they go out there and they play baseball. They can't do it 100% wholeheartedly when they know this is how their business dealings were done, and they're going out there playing false hopes for a team that they wanted them, but he didn't necessarily want to be there. It's not their fault. But he would love to be in Atlanta. That's where he started out. That's where he just got a ring. He was a fan of the Braves his entire life. So when you find out that what you thought your team didn't match the deal, of course, for your livelihood, you're going to go LA. Then you come back that first trip back and you find out the truth, the hard truth. That's tough, man. That's really, really hard to swallow. And of course, you're going to fire your agent. And of course, nobody else should trust you in that moment because you just did a slide dealing for yourself to get a bigger cut of the pie. The agent got more money that way if he took that deal. And even though the Braves would have matched it, that's the sad part. The Braves told him we would have matched that number, and we came back with it. But you didn't take that number because of what the agent did. So you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and you gotta choose wisely with your representation and what you thought your trust was in someone to do that. And you couldn't do that. And unfortunately, that's why you got to let him go. And this guy should be treated like Pete Rose was treated when he got caught for gambling. That's not even that big of a deal now in 2022. Betting on your own team, yes. But the fact that he was gambling and you treated him that way, and this guy did what he did to Freddie, he should never be allowed to represent anybody else.
Exactly. And you said the perfect word, represent. Your agent represents you. And for him to do that 100% he needs to be gone.
As you know, the crazy thing about it, I saw the other day that he's suing Doug Godley because I guess Godley was the one that, dropped the hammer on this. So the agent is suing him because of, everything that's going on. It's your fault. Like, it's your fault, bro. Like, you did this to this man. You're mad because you got exposed, and that's the way you're going to respond to that? Man, get out of here with that crap, bro. Get out of here.
If LeBron James is going to leave our boy Snowman alone for his bronze sexual segment on his show, then you need to leave this man alone because all he did was drop straight facts. So if LeBron's leaving Snowman alone, then you got to leave. You got to let this go, dude.
Snowman
You're in the wrong. All right.
Snowman hates LeBron.
Yeah, he so hates LeBron, man. When I was on the show all the time, I was like, I don't like LeBron, but I'm kind of uncomfortable even hating on him this much, Snowman. Like, hating on this bad. Like,
yeah,
of course, MJ is number one, but we got to tone it down a little bit. But
Final round.
And this is definitely one that hits home for him, and that is the independent scene has suffered tremendously as a result of the ongoing pandemic. And with your experience, with this, for the ongoing time like we've discussed, how do you feel about this? Are you in or are you out on this statement?
In.
Yes, sir. So you got to look at it like this. What we talked about earlier. I would consider myself part-time. I'm older. I'm just being smart about it. Really, I don't have a point. I'm not going to try to make it to face Roman Reigns at a WrestleMania. You know, I'm not going to WWE. So if you take all these independent scene, by the way, it's different layers of it. You have some places that have get bigger audiences. You get some places that get like you might have 5-10 people, as opposed to other places that might have 40, 50 to 100 or 1,000, you know. So if you take all of that and you just take the equation out, well, some of these people, this is all they do. They don't do a second job or a part-time job or a full-time job and do wrestling part-time. Some of them, this is their life and career. They travel all around the country, all around the world, and they make a lot of money off their merchandise, this, that, the other. When everything shuts down, it was like everything else. Like especially in say for like I work in dentistry. Couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything for 3 months. We had to rely on some other kind of way to get income, like you know, state stuff, like state money. So you know, had to go fill out the paperwork and see what they could send you until you know the unemployment come through and everything. So I'm not sure what all these guys and girls did during that time, who rely on that, you know, financial income. Did they have to go back to work or find another job or what? I would like to talk to some of them to see, just to get an idea. And for me personally, being I was doing it part-time, it didn't affect me from the industry or wrestling standpoint, but I've been around people and talked to people somewhat locally. And I was really like at that point myself, right now I'm 47. So a couple of years ago, it's right mid-40s. I was kind of like, man, I should be done with this now. Like I was really considering it. It plays in your head sometimes. I probably shouldn't be doing this now anyway, after the pandemic. And the only thing that really changed my mind, to be honest with you, on a personal level, I had a guy who was a close friend of mine, and he started training at GXW, Ground Zero Wrestling Training Academy, after me, mind you. So I was there way before him. He got on shows before I did. He just had the charisma and he just got it. Name was Pork Chop Johnson, John Johnson, rest in peace. He passed away. I found out, I think it was a few months afterwards. I didn't know. So it was during the pandemic. Yeah, that was a tough one right there. That one hit home hard. I mean, I was bathroom one night, and I don't, like I said, I don't cry much, but that it just hit me because he was such a great guy. He would always check on me, like, you know, you got stuff to work on here. Call me, like, call me up when you get a chance. I'm gonna talk to you about something. You know, he held us responsible. So find out that he passed away, I was like, damn, I can't stop now. Like, we used to always joke, like, my first match is gonna be my retirement match. I'm gonna go do the match, and then I'm gonna announce my retirement. It's gonna be debut retirement. I used to joke about that all the time. And the sad thing is, it almost sounded like that came true. I was like, man, well, in my head, I'm done with it. But when I found out he passed, it's like, hell no, I'm not done with it. I got to do this, if nothing else, for him, for his spirit. Like, it gave me a new light to like continue on. And I can honestly feel like I would never be as charismatic as him. He opens up the room. It's a few guys I know that do that, like Ace Montana, several people that just have that spark that the fans just love it. Like, you can't hate them. And just that alone, just like, I was like, man, I just can't stop now. Like, then that's where the other stuff clicked. Well, I got to help these other people become that, you know what I mean? So the pandemic changed a whole lot of that. People couldn't really go train, especially here in Virginia, because it's regulated. They didn't allow it. So I feel like some people might have had to find their way kind of on their own. And in that content, I think that it killed a lot of people's momentum if they were going through stuff. It might have gave them a break physically for a minute, you know, of course, of whatever they were doing on their own, because a lot of the gyms was shut down. I even had to get my own equipment, start getting stuff off Facebook Marketplace, Dick's Sporting Goods, like if they had flow models or whatever. And I often wonder, what did a lot of these people do until they got back to do what they love doing? I think a lot of the promotions might have suffered. It's not like they had big Vince McMahon money, you know, stuff like that. So I think it really took a while to come back up, because first they were doing stuff that people shooting videos with no audience. Of course, like same as like you saw SmackDown and Raw. Of course, they had the little screens up there with the fans on. I thought that was great. But the indies, they can't do that. Like, they could do a lot of things, but they don't have that money to, you know, keep producing shows and stuff like that. A lot of them do shows that's pay-per-view quality shows, but on a smaller scales compared to the big leagues. And honestly, I think when it started coming back up, it ramped up pretty quickly as the, you know, train got to rolling. But I'm thinking it's a lot of people that just didn't get back like they were before all of the pandemic happened, and you got all the safety concerns and such, you know, and you know, it just make you think like that's not just wrestling. That's like that was across the board in a lot of places like the restaurant industry, and it's, you know, it's harder to get. I don't know about wrestling, but it was harder for them to get people that wanted to still do that, work with the public. Wrestling, I mean, it's a contact sport. You got to get in there. You trusting what you're in there with, whatever that may be. And then you got the fans and the crowds and the audience. You got little kids out there. So like, I'm pretty sure some of that audience got affected. Like I know a lot of shows I did more so recently was majority of them were outside. Like the one we did last weekend, and it was great. Hot as I don't know what, but it was, you know, it was that extra layer of, I want to say protection, because you're more outside than closed in some place. And some of those places we wrestling are pretty small. Some of them are pretty big. It depends on the venue. So I think going forward, now that we went through that and got through that, we would know more so how to handle precautions and stuff. You know what I mean? So hopefully nothing like this happens again, but you just never know.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's hard to prepare for something like what we experienced in 2020. It was absolutely nuts, and I hope we never go through it again. We're still technically dealing with it, but for everything that what you said, I've got to agree. I'm in on this as well. I'll admit I recycled this topic from episode 14 with the Golden Boy Greg Anthony when he was here, because he's also another one who's experienced this. He's actually, like you were saying, a part-time wrestler, but he's the booker for Pro Wrestling Mid-South in Tennessee. So in that Tennessee territory, and he had a lot of things that were very similar to what you've said. You guys are on the very same page with a lot of what you were saying in the first and the first topic and the last one were from that episode. The other ones we had from recent discussion. But with that, I wanted to get your insight on that. And you guys are so neck and neck with the same insights with that. You guys, it's because you've experienced it. Like he knows a little bit more into it because, like you said, you're doing the part-time and you're doing the dental assistant stuff as well, which is great because you're giving back to people as well, you know, with their health too. I mean, your teeth are very important. So definitely kudos to you for picking a profession where you're able to give back as well too. So very big highlight to you for that. With Greg, he not only does professional wrestling, you know, part-time, but he's a full-time booker. So he's got the insight, you know, a little bit more dived into, but everything that what you're saying, he's living it. So you guys are still on the same page with everything because you've experienced it all and been in between the ropes. And it's hard with the way the pandemic has shut stuff down. Like you said, we're in Virginia. Regulations were different in Virginia what they were in Tennessee. And he even brought that up in episode 14 and said, you know, with what I had where I was only shut down for like 90 days, you guys were shut down a lot longer than that.
We can do about a year.
He was only shut down for 90 days, man. I believe it. I may be a little bit off, but it was very close. I want to say something wild, outlandish, like everything was getting shut down in March and he was back up and running by June or mid-July or something like that. And when I really think about that, it's like their restrictions were much different there than here, but we're near the heart of it where we're closer to the Big Apple and stuff like that. There's a lot more traffic that comes through our way than there really is when you really think about it.
That's true.
So when you put all that into perspective, of course, because we're so close to, you know, DC and stuff like that, you know, where we get the higher levels of exposure they want to say or whatever BS they want to throw at us that week. It was so wild to go through that experience. It's still wild to go through it now and watching people double mask up and stuff. It's like wearing 2 diapers, man. Like, what is that really going to do? Like, what is that really? So many things. And the people that have their mask on their rear view mirrors too. And then they put it on their face like it's collecting dust, dude.
They shouldn't be doing that at all. I can tell you about that. And the funny thing is, man, my gimmick before, way before this, back in the day, I started out, and you know, we had a lot of riots, a lot of racial, a lot of stuff going on. I used to have a gas mask when I came out. And then after I got rid of this, I had sort of one of those masks that's like a scarf that you could pull up. And it was pre-pandemic. So I was like, dang, I hope I'm not a prophet, because it was almost surreal though. It was creepy. Like I was like, damn, I was doing all of this stuff and teasing that way before this happened. Like sometimes real life or reality and wrestling meet together. And like we was talking about earlier, that's the best storyline. It's like, it's real.
Hey, like we discovered, we don't live too far away from each other. If you got a hidden DeLorean over there, I'm gonna be coming over soon. Let's go back in time or go to the future. Like, we need to be using this DeLorean for the good things and help us out and give back to the community too. But we need to help ourselves out too. Let's get this DeLorean up and running. I may have a flux capacitor laying around here somewhere. We could figure this thing out. Get this done, my man.
This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man